Good idea.
So I have a T-shirt idea. Let me first give you a little background here.
Okay.
In fandom, don't you guys think that the seasons of your favorite teams, college or pro, or even high school, that you enjoy the most aren't necessarily the years where you're favored? Like, Jimmy, KU is going to be favored to win the national championship. Might not be one of your favorite years because it's going to be a tension convention. I mean, you're going to go through a lot of stress. There's all these expectations. I firmly believe that some of the more enjoyable years in our fandom are when it is an unexpected, really good season.
Yep.
Like, you think it might be okay, but then it turns out to be really, really good.
Yep.
For example, and this is the most recent one that comes to mind. This was one of the more enjoyable Omaha hockey seasons because two guys on the mornings on 1620
not me
got rid of Omaha hockey in January.
Canceled everything.
And about 6,000 other fans got rid of Omaha hockey.
Shout out Durango.
And they turned it around and they had a really, really good season. And I'm going to speak for the...
And remember they're picked in preseason 7 out of 8.
I'm going to speak for the Crimson and Black Nation. This was one of the more enjoyable hockey seasons you've ever had.
Yep.
Just like the trip to the Frozen Four.
You got to the
when Omaha was not like, hey, I mean, Omaha didn't make their conference tournament that year.
Nope.
So I think because I look at like Nebraska basketball, some of the more enjoyable Nebraska basketball seasons of late have been when it's unexpected. And all of a sudden they have a breakthrough. Even Creighton basketball. There have been a couple of years where you're like, this might be a rebuilding year. And all of a sudden they have a really good season. Yeah. You're like, man, I really, really like this season.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
What about last year when they lost 6 in a row?
I think Nebraska football, the years that they have had good seasons, we have been more cautiously optimistic going into the season. And then they have a good season instead of, they're going to win the Big Ten, baby, or they're going to win the Big 12. And then it's just like, or
07,
or they have a good year and it is a tension convention. Like 09, that was a good team in 09.
Yeah, great defense.
But it wasn't like, that wasn't like a preseason top 10 team.
No.
What were they? Were they even... They were ranked in the preseason, but it was like 24, 25.
Yeah, they were top 25, but I don't think they were top 15. I know they weren't top 15.
So that was a fun season.
They weren't picked to win the North.
Well, what they did alone in the Big 12 championship game, in a game they were supposed to get blown out in, that they depending on who you ask, they won or should have won. So, yeah.
So I have this discussion a lot with people about the ceiling. Like, I think the floor this year for Nebraska football is going to be 5. My ceiling is TBA. Because I have some unknowns, but they're not unknowns where I go, oh, boy.
Right. They have a quarterback.
But how many times of late, and this is just a discussion about Nebraska football, has Nebraska football actually hit their head on their ceiling? What you perceive as their ceiling before the season begins. How many times of late has Nebraska football hit their head on a ceiling?
Probably 2016, last time they went to a bowl game.
Don't they? They never get to the attic. Okay, no. They always stop like on the
that's a good example.
On the second floor where you've got dual bathrooms.
2016 is a good example of that. Then where you start off 7-0, you lose a close game in Wisconsin. So you're thinking if you win that game, then you're starting to pull down that attic door and not get hit in the head with the ladder.
But you guys are vibing with me. Like some of your more enjoyable seasons are when you're not that they're quiet, man. They were a sleeper. No, where there wasn't like, hey, man, it's going to be a 10-win season for Nebraska. So
2016 Cleveland, even though they lost in the World Series, that team, just given the playoffs, they had to go on the road. They played the Blue Jays, who are good. The Rangers got beat by the Blue Jays, but it was 2017 where my hopes were way high. 16 was, where the hell did this all come from?
2007 Kansas football, and I could probably drop the mic there.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good one.
But there are some coaches and programs that do better when the expectations are not way up there.
Mm-hmm. You're right on the enjoyment level.
Some people don't do well as front runners.
No.
They do better as like sneaky middle of the pack. Ooh, there might be something there, but there's So this is what I think our scheduled T-shirt from 1620 The Zone should be this year, and this is the theme. My group has put a lot of effort into this. We've had a lot of slogans.
Yeah,
workshopping all those words.
Cautiously optimistic.
Take a size large.
It's a nice red shirt.
Maybe medium based on my
red
summer.
shirt, white lettering.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic. 2024 below it. Then on the back, the schedule. Don't anybody steal my idea. I'll come at you with my lawyers.
Love it.
1620 the shirt.
Open up a shop there. I love it.
Because I think a lot of years where
just give us your email.
Where Nebraska football, for example, in the last 15 years, when it's not like, hey, that's a 10-win team, or it's like, hey, that's a 7-win team, and all of a sudden they win 9.
Yeah.
I tell you,
that was fun.
They win 9 this year, and you think they should win 7? Oh, hell yeah, it's going to be enjoyable. But it's enjoyable because it's unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, as a fan, you get more of a, oh man, that was a great season.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I have a national championship, and that season was a lot of fun because there were some unknowns and we liked some things that I didn't really know what was going to happen. And next thing you know, we win 9 football games. I'm like, man,
we're back.
I like that. That was good.
Well, the beauty of this year too is you could be internally more intrigued about this year than you have been in a lot of years, but it's now built in because of the failures or the shortcomings that you're always going to, at most, be cautiously optimistic. I don't think anybody's saying, oh, this is going to be an amazing, we're going to get 10 wins.
That would wear
if
the
you
crap
think
out of that shirt.
You're borderline insane. Even if you think there's a path to that, I'm not talking about a path to that. I'm talking about what you feel the most confident right now. Cautiously optimistic is the best way to put it because you can't go any higher than that right now. If you do, I don't know what you've been watching.
It's true. The Spurs are going 82.
Who is the best local coach when you use the phrase cautiously optimistic that seems to do the best with that phrase? Fred?
Would Mac enter that conversation at all?
No, because I think Mac
even keel.
This is the only downfall of having a pretty damn good run. Is there's a standard of expectation.
We could be good.
So this could be a very last year was enjoyable if you're a Creighton basketball fan, but no doubt. I mean,
but you were
there are
supposed to be.
benchmarks, but this year could be one of those, and the Creighton will still be top 3. Big East. I mean, bottom would be 4, but they're going to be in the top 4 preseason of the Big East.
Yeah,
and they will be a top 25 team. They may be the 15 to 25 range, but let's say they get back to the Sweet 16 with no Shireman, no Alexander. You don't think this would go down as one of the more enjoyable seasons?
Absolutely.
Would be more than this year.
I'll give you another example because kind of the vibe that is around everybody's trying to figure out what the roster looks like for basketball in Lincoln. If Nebraska basketball gets back to the NCAA tournament this year, you're gonna guess our discussion will be, oh man, that was kind of a fun season. Which maybe adds to when Fred embarks on a cautiously optimistic season. That's why last year for a lot of people was so enjoyable because they were preseason 12th.
So that many people go to Memphis.
They ended up wearing white in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Nick canceled them after the road loss at Minnesota, but I understand.
No,
why.
I didn't. I was.
Didn't somebody
catering? It was. I think Schreiner, but I know Josh Hodson did too.
Well, I mean that's a given.
Yeah,
he lives here.
No, I was ready to.
I didn't cancel them until after they lost to Texas A&M.
Fair.
That's when. It's a good cancellation. That was the appropriate.
That was my crystal ball.
Well, it's over now.
Work out this year.
Actually, Gary, it is because when it's a single elimination tournament, so that means your season is over with. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that would be a good time to cancel them for the season.
Captain off.
The more you know.
So there's our T-shirt idea.
Right.
Great idea.
We'll see where that goes.
It'll happen. We'll make it happen.
Anybody listening?
Now what we need to do is have a rule in an interview mention that. I'm cautiously optimistic about the season.
Then we can put it in quotes.
You could send a text like, "Hey, I just need one favor."
And then at the very bottom, you say Matt Rule.
Reese, thanks for having us on. Any opportunity we can to talk about Nebraska football, that's great. No problem, Coach. Question. You know what? We're cautiously optimistic.
And
we'd be golden.
Did
Thank
point to
you.
the shirt?
there's your
Or
drop,
could we get
And then we could put his quote.
could we get him
put
to
quotes,
wear
Matt
the
Rule.
shirt?
Matt Rule.
And he
Oh.
can just say,
Yeah, if we'd buy the rights for the network, we could.
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
Or get a couple of cocktails in him.
Then again, he is listener Matt, 6A to 6P.
He likes a good craft beer. And did he bring a bourbon too? Yeah, okay.
I could hook him up with some zone stress balls.
Be like, what do we got to get you to wear this T-shirt? What do you need? How can we be friends?
It's a good discussion. The last time
Would you
Nebraska
like a picture with Connor.
football hit their head on the ceiling of what you perceived as the ceiling, there's
If you take out your
See,
16, what about 10?
But see, I think
So-
16 is
so
they
Ed-
got to the, as you put it, they got to the upstairs, but that's where they banged their head on the attic sliding ladder.
like Larry Bird was not, he didn't go up to the attic.
Right.
Yeah.
Clark Griswold was
A
there.
lot of 14.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the one that the most obvious one is 09. That one to me is the most obvious because of where that season ended in the conference championship game with literally a second, and then they subsequently destroy Arizona in the Holiday Bowl. Nick Foles led Arizona Wildcat team. You know what the exact opposite was? People forget how big of a dumpster fire 07 was. Remember, they were supposed to be good that year. There was
I
a
remember.
lot of hype about that
Many
07 team. So
Sam Keller was going to be the
Yep.
second coming.
You realize how difficult it is? Like, you go back to the 90s, like that 93, 94, 95, when you are preseason number one for the most part, or preseason number two,
how do you overachieve?
you hit your head on the ceiling. No,
There you
you all 3 of those years, you hit your head on the ceiling.
95, they met expectations.
Like
Yeah.
96, I didn't think that
Still
was
a good year.
A good
I didn't think
team.
that was compared to the previous
No.
3 years.
Oh, right.
Good, bordering on like could be great.
Salty
Mhm.
dudes.
I don't think the 96 team hit their head on a ceiling.
No, I don't
Now,
think so.
I think the 97, because
Yeah.
there were a lot of people that thought, 96 is
the beginning of the. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
We had it too good.
uh-oh.
We won
Yep.
2 in a row.
And now you're going to start the steady.
So 97, around here it was, no. National championship. Because remember, they didn't lose a lot of guys. I mean, they returned dude after dude after
Mhm.
dude, but they were not as highly thought of in the preseason, because I don't even think they were top 5 that year. The
Washington game
They
set them.
they probably hit their head on the ceiling into some that were thinking, Nebraska's going to take a step back. It's over. They maybe broke through that ceiling, but it's been very rare.
Yeah, Josh brings up 93, as you mentioned, 93, 94, and 95, because you fall a field goal away from a national championship, but they were number 10 in preseason, according to Josh. So that would be considered a overachievement, finishing in the national championship game with a shot to line up for a field goal to win a national title game. And remember that Florida State team too. That was, I brought up Notre Dame Stadium
That great
earlier.
point
That
guard.
was one of the great, I know they did. That was one of the great matchups, 1 versus 2. And Notre Dame won that game, but Florida State ends up bouncing back and making it to the national championship game. That was
Notre Dame lost to Boston College.
Yep. That was a Florida State team with a fast break offense. Like it just seemed like,
Not many were doing it
they're going to
then.
have that typical Florida speed that's going to run all over Nebraska. And man, the fact that it reminded me a lot of the 09 Big 12 championship game of, this is a mismatch. And then it comes down to the last moment. So yeah, I would say Josh is right. 93 would definitely be a moment in Husker football history where they hit that head on the ceiling.
Yeah, Colt McCoy thinks Sue's still next to him to this day.
He still wakes
Just
up.
feels like,